India has just made a move that could shake up the global energy map. And it's got everything to do with Washington's pressure and Africa's rising role in the oil game. For more than 2 years, India was one of Russia's most important customers. While Europe talked about shutting the door on Moscow's crude after the invasion of Ukraine, India flung it wide open. Tankers loaded with discounted Russian oil steamed into Indian ports, keeping Russia's war economy alive and India's refineries humming. It was a marriage of convenience. Russia needed the cash, and India needed the fuel at a bargain price. But convenience is no match for hard geopolitics. By July 2025, the message from Washington was loud and clear: cut Russian purchases or risk the political fallout. And when Donald Trump says he wants to choke off Russia's oil revenues, he expects allies, or at least partners, to play along. August now, and the pivot was complete. Indian state refiners, the backbone of the country's oil imports, stopped buying Russian barrels altogether. Not quietly over months, but abruptly. That's how you know the pressure was real. So, where does India turn when it walks away from millions of barrels of Russian crude? The answer isn't the Gulf states, it's Africa. And specifically, Nigeria. Africa's largest oil producer is now stepping into a role it hasn't held in years, a central supplier to one of the world's fastest-growing economies. Over 2 million barrels of Nigerian crude are scheduled to arrive in India between September and October. That's a massive jump, and it's not just about plugging a gap. Nigerian crude grades like Agbami are perfect for India's refineries. Low sulfur, high yield, and ideal for producing the gasoline and diesel that power both the domestic market and lucrative exports. And Nigeria isn't alone in this windfall. Angola is sending Girasol crude. Abu Dhabi's Murban is on the way. Even the United States is shipping Mars crude to India. The result? Africa's share of the Asian market, long dominated by the Gulf, is suddenly growing. For Russia, this is a big problem. One of its largest oil customers is gone, and redirecting those barrels isn't easy. China will take some, but not all, and certainly not at the prices Moscow wants. This is more than a trade shift. It's a strategic setback. Now here's the irony. While Modi's government is quietly aligning with Washington's wishes on oil, the mood at home is far from pro-American. Trump's new tariffs on Indian goods have sparked calls to boycott US products. Business leaders and Modi's own supporters are fueling the campaign, urging consumers to turn away from American brands. So on one hand, India is giving Washington exactly what it wants in energy policy. On the other hand, it's turning up the heat in a budding trade confrontation. That's not confusion, it's calculation. Modi is playing both sides, cooperating where it strengthens India's strategic hand and confronting where it rallies domestic support. For Africa, this is more than a short-term gain. If Nigerian and Angolan producers can prove themselves as reliable suppliers, they could lock in long-term contracts and permanently shift part of Asia's energy demand away from the Gulf and Russia. That's a structural change in the making. For Europe, the lesson is just as clear. The scramble for reliable, diversified energy sources is accelerating. If Brussels wants to secure African partnerships, it can't wait for crises. It needs to be in the game now. India's oil pivot is not the end of its relationship with Russia, nor is it the start of an unshakable alliance with Washington. It's a move on the global chessboard, one that tells us the pieces are shifting fast, and the players are thinking several moves ahead. If you found this breakdown useful, give this video a like, subscribe for more deep analysis of global politics, and visit westernrelations.com for sharp, independent perspectives on the shifting balance of power. Thank you for watching.